Alright? So I'm Heather and I'm about to significantly lower the tone for a bit. So for anybody who doesn't know us, I really like talking about sex. So I've been quite lucky in that I've been allowed to do this officially. I've taught sex in schools, but I also quite regularly get pissed and tell people my opinions about sex. Most famously that teaching children the intricacies of BDSM should be something I'm allowed to do when I'm in a school. Jamie spent an entire night discussing that with me. Every time he thought, he was like, I've got that here. I was like, no, I can tell you more about why telling children correct not technique is acceptable. But unfortunately, I do have a bit of an issue in that there is one time when I can't actually talk about sex, which is a shame because it's actually during the sex, when I feel that might actually be important. And there's a couple of ways you can get around this if you just panic like I do. My first technique is what I have dubbed the horny Geiger counter. So this is when, you're there, you're the partner, you're doing things, whatever your preferences are, and, they're putting their hands elsewhere, and you're like, that's all right, but if you could just move it a little bit. But you don't necessarily want to say that. So what you do is they hope they move it, and then you respond accordingly. So you start off, with a little bit of a, oh, and as they get closer, oh, and get louder and hope they get the hint. Sometimes they don't, though, which is more confusing than anything. But then you force to the extreme of just sort of the brute force method, which is when you just pick their hands up and put them other places. And this can start quite nicely, because you do the whole, I'm going to put my hand on top of yours while we do this together. Isn't this sexy? But I'm also going to move your hand elsewhere. And they go, this is sexy, but I'm going to move my hand back. And you're like, well, no, you're not. It's going to be there. And they're like, but no, I was happy here, no, there, no, here, no, there. And then suddenly you've got an arm wrestle and no one knows what's going on. So I thought, right, this is ridiculous. I cannot be continuing on this way. So I'm going to have to think about why I cannot talk about sex. And I had a long, hard thought, and I realised it boils down to one thing. And it's my accent. So I'm from just outside of Newcastle, and have an actual Geordie accent, unlike Lark, bless his cotton socks.
Love you, David.
And so Geordie accents are excellent, right? We are friendly, we are welcoming, we make you think of pints and pasties. Not what you want in bed, though, really. And there's lots of specific problems. I mean, there's the fact that when you talk Geordie properly, it's an entirely different language. You've got that language barrier there. So you have a moment. Partner looks at you and they say, what would you like me to do? And you respond with, ew, why, I think it'd be pure class if you went doing that for this pet. If no one's ever been to Newcastle, that's a polite request for oral sex. The other one, the concern that I have is when you're from the northeast and you get excited, you start sentences with E. It's lovely, I think it's a wonderful thing and more places should do it. But I'm always worried, you're in bed and you are quite excited, fingers crossed. And you're relaxed and your inhibitions are down and, you get into a certain point. And you're just terrified that all of a sudden it's, I'm pure close! Which does provide a huge incentive for them to stop that. Lest you burst into a rousing rendition of I'm coming home, Newcastle! This problem is even worse for me because I've realised over the last few years, I think I've developed a type. Yes. Joel lives with me. He's aware. It's not a type I'm proud of. It's posh boys. Usually Tory posh boys. Now it might be that when I was younger, I brought home the skinhead lad who smoked and was a bit dodgy and hung around with people with questionable criminal records. My parents didn't bat an eyelid, so I think, oh, if I bring someone home who actually says nice things about Thatcher, maybe he'll take an issue. But I think it might be deeper than that, and I sort of self-diagnosed myself with class issues. It's like daddy issues, but instead of a distant father, I went to a comp. And so I'm going to share with you sort of my nightmare scenario of what could happen. So, I'm being taken out by a nice gentleman. He probably went to private school, although if I'm having a dry spell, a good grammar will do. We're going somewhere nice. I'll order Pinot Grigio instead of asking, well, whatever, cheapest by the bottle. We'll talk art and culture, I'll not even mention Greggs. And I'm doing all of this, and he's impressed, but inside, the Jarrah lass is not happy with this. She's there. She's putting her fake tan on. She's ready for war. And the evening progresses. It's very lovely. We suggest we maybe go somewhere else. And he doesn't mean a back lane for once, which is exciting. And we head back. And he looks at me. And he says, what would you like to do next? And the Jarrah lass is prepared for this. And I can't control it. She rears up and all you hear is, "How ye? Get on that bed so I can ride ye like a roller coaster."